Well, it finally happened. People have begun receiving their Trump phones, and unsurprisingly, it's not great. I'd even go as far as to say it's downright horrible. Snazzy Labs recently made a video after receiving his Trump phone, and since I already made 2 videos talking about this damn thing, I figured why not wrap things up with a third and final installment.
Because everybody with even a passing understanding of electronics and the global supply chain knew the problem on day one. You can't make a smartphone on US soil at any price in 2026. And at $500, you likely couldn't even assemble one here with globally sourced components. And that was really the tell. The phone, it was never the point. Standing up the Trump mobile brand was. After a year of changing renders and specs and ship dates and being shady to the press, the phone I was sure would never arrive just showed up at my door. It seems that I'm one of the very first paying customers on Earth to have the Trump T1 in hand.
I'm actually impressed they even shipped something that resembles a product. I thought for sure the only way people would see a Trump phone is if they were also on the crack pipe. This is exactly what everyone with a frontal lobe was saying about the Trump phone when it was first announced. How it was pretty much impossible to deliver a phone that was made in America at this price point. And that's pretty much the case for all of the initial claims over at Trump Mobile. They're a load of baloney. And in the last video I made talking about this, it was revealed that the volume of orders was significantly less than what was reported, which probably explains why they were finally able to start shipping, even though the actual phone itself looks like something they just refurbished off of Temu.
But I was getting nothing. So I finally dug into the spam folder, even though I'd marked everything from Trump Mobile to come in as priority, and, well, there it was from the day before. An invite telling me that my T1 was ready and that I owed the remaining balance. Now, before any MAGA numbnuts fire up the Gmail censors conservatives cannon, this is an own goal of historic stupidity. The first email had its DMARC records configured incorrectly. That's the setting that proves an email came from where it claims to come from, something they teach you on baby's first day of IT admin. I think they figured this out because a few days later, a corrected follow-up arrived, but it still landed in spam. Why? Well, because it authenticated against info.americafirst-patriots.com instead of trumpmobile.com. Gmail just did exactly what it was designed to do, put the most likely trash in the trash.
Well, let's not be hasty here. Hold your horses. Just because they didn't have any kind of authentication doesn't mean the product itself is trash. That seems awfully harsh. So what if it had all the telltale signs of phishing? Who are you going to trust? Gmail or the head ponchos over at Trump Mobile?
But I found it, so I clicked through, and I can't log in. And I know my credentials are right because I use a password manager, but figuring maybe they rehashed everything after the data leak, I go to reset the password, I create a new one, that'll happen successfully, but then I meet the login flow, surely built by the lowest bidder 11 time zones away, username and password, then there's a consent box, and then a two-factor field below it, and the code that it is alleged to have emailed me, yeah, it's not. It's not in my spam, it's not in my inbox, it's not in all mail, it does not exist. Which I guess leaves me one option, the one thing that no human being wants to do in 2026.
It really is a relief to know that Trump Mobile took that security vulnerability on their website very seriously. Not only is it more complex for hackers now, it's also damn near impossible for customers to access their own accounts. I can't even imagine going through something like customer service over at Trump Mobile. That's a fate worse than purgatory. It stops being funny, and it's almost impressive how they managed to screw up something that's boilerplate shit for websites. Like, I don't even know how you can fuck that up.
I enter my card number, I agree to payment terms, but I do not click the marketing opt-in to which, quote, consent is not a condition of any purchase, end quote. And yet, it totally is. This field is required or they will not let you buy the phone. I don't even care anymore. They leaked all my data out to the internet, whatever. I click the button and, oh, well, look at that. A text message from Chase flagging a transaction from TMI Hardware as potentially fraudulent. My bank does this like once every 2 years, and transactions of this price are not uncommon. So clearly, they have had issues with TMI hardware before. In any case, yes, it's me, and it clears.
Every single step through the process of obtaining a Trump phone is borderline broken. Here, it literally says you don't have to consent to the information, but when he tries to opt out, it turns out you do have to consent in order to move on to the next step, which, after finishing the payment process, gets flagged by the bank. Holy Toledo.
I cannot wait to open this because this is already amateur hour. I tore part of the label off because I thought this was from eBay because, well, it was dropped off at a UPS store in person by hand, which nobody's doing if they're doing volume. And then also the label is cut out of paper that they printed on like an inkjet printer. It gets even better because they told me that they were going to ship a SIM card with the package, but look at this. I received a handwritten letter, hand-addressed envelope that I thought was a birthday card because, like, what else would it be? Nope. It's my Trump Mobile SIM card. This is the 47 plan. Oh, beautiful.
Just more evidence to validate that the only reason why people finally received a product was because the actual number of people who pre-ordered a Trump phone was significantly less than what was advertised. There's no fucking way they would hand deliver this to 600,000 customers at UPS. No shot. I'll eat my left shoe. And they also delivered this with a handwritten envelope that does resemble a birthday card. Nobody is doing that if it's to 600,000 people. That can only happen if the actual number is significantly lower than what was initially spat out. So this is around where Quinn finally begins reviewing the actual phone itself. And I'm not kidding when I say it does look like something they just slapped their logo onto off of Temu.
And here it is. Wow, it is ugly. And look at that. I haven't touched the back of the phone yet, but there's a little fingerprint on there. That is a little fingerprint. See that next to the second camera lens? I wonder if it's from the little kid that had to assemble this in the USA. Bad joke. Okay, so the color is just not consistent anywhere. This could maybe kind of be gold, though it is pretty yellow. If you're gonna do this at all, why not just go all out? I mean, I've got some gold-plated golf balls right here. They were $50 on Amazon, which is pretty outrageous, like 13 bucks a piece. And I don't think they're Pro V1Xs. So I think most of the cost is in the gold, but these are legitimately gold-plated, and the surface area of these balls is way higher than what this phone would be. And, 50 bucks. So if you're paying $500 for this phone, why not just make it legitimately gold? At least that would be kind of cool, because do these things look similar to you at all?
That is mustard yellow. This shit has the same hue as the fried food at Long John Silver's. That's not gold at all. And pulling out the golf ball is just the cherry on top.
And look at this, Trump User Manual SGG06. I mean, hey, it's been a while since they've given such detailed instructions with the smartphone, and I appreciate it. That's good. Oh, I think this was made for old people.
Made by old people, for old people. That's the only way anyone can be loosely excited about this fucking phone.
Ah, now I know why they include a case. This is plastic. This is not glass. So it probably scratches pretty easy. So we're going to put this on there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you paid $500 for a phone made of plastic, you're going to want to put on some protection. So right there is the first cost-cutting measure they made to ensure that they could deliver this phone at that price point. Not only is the phone not gold like advertised, but it's not made of titanium or even aluminum. Which does make me wonder why they couldn't make the phone gold if it's not even made of metal. Surely it couldn't have been that expensive to slap on some metallic gold paint or electroplating just to give these phones something of value.
Okay, so there is a fingerprint reader on board, and I thought it might be in the power button because that's what it appears to be on their promotional images, but it's definitely not. It's just gonna be in screen. So let's see if it's a decent in-screen fingerprint. And yeah, oh. Start. I think the fingerprint sensor is broken from the factory. System updates. Your system is updated as of February 5th. Should we check to see if there's any system updates? There are not. Let's try one last time to set up my fingerprint. The whole phone is set up. I'm gonna push agree and start. Yeah, no, it's just fully broken.
This part actually surprised me. No joke, I would have actually bet money that if anything was guaranteed to work with the Trump phone, it'd be the authenticators needed to harvest the user's biometric data. But they couldn't even do that right.
All right, hardware. So we've got a Snapdragon 7 Gen 3. Not bad. Older chip, couple years old, but not bad, not bad. And then we've got a 1080 by 2436 display with 120 hertz refresh rate. That's pretty good. And 12 gigs of memory. Wow. And 512 gigs of storage. These specs are a lot better than I thought they would be. 12 gigs of memory is not bad at all. Okay, so it does say it has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Interesting. Yeah, I might not have a fingerprint sensor, but do you know what I do have? A flashing green status LED. When was the last time you saw a status LED on an Android phone?
Credit where credit is due, the hardware itself isn't bad. I'll agree with Quinn on that. It is very nostalgic seeing things like a flashing status LED or the 3.5mm headphone jack. I know I ripped on that in particular because it felt very dated, but it's not like there's anything wrong with that. Even still, there are a couple things to criticize. For one, fingerprints stick very easily, apparently. Even as he was taking it out of the box, Quinn mentioned how there were some small fingerprints on the camera from packaging. He also tested out a few of the apps, including Trump Mobile, which came pre-installed, believe it or not. And apparently the phone is also very touch sensitive. So after a while, the phone will start to close out of apps and open new ones because of the fingerprints that the screen accumulates. So if you don't have a screen protector or clean it after a while, eventually the phone becomes uncooperative.
For almost a year, the internet was certain that the Trump T1 was just a rebadged T-Mobile Revel Pro 5G. This phone, one I picked up on Amazon for $126, manufactured by Chinese ODM Wingtech. The thing is it's not. This initial render ain't what we got, and these two phones have, thankfully, absolutely nothing in common. The real Trump phone is much better. Fingerprint sensor aside.
Bring out the champagne and noisemakers. The Trump phone is better than something you can buy off Amazon.
Ta-da! As suspected, they're exactly the same. Same board, same layout, same components. The only difference is the battery. Here's the HTC, here's the Trump. They look basically identical, save for the actual flash placement, which I didn't need to loosen. Because check this out. They use contactless connector. That's pretty nice. Little pogo pins on here. That's advanced. Don't break these or you are in for a bad time. Trust me on that one.
Somewhere in America, there is a red-blooded MAGA man that let out an audible scream after watching Quinn tear down a Trump phone. Now, this is going to come as a shock to everyone watching, but I am not the most tech-savvy person. So, I didn't really understand much about the internal components of the Trump phone, but from what I could make out, the internal inspection confirms the phone shares the same mainboard and layout as the HTC U24 Pro, with the only difference being the battery. Upon further inspection, he's unable to determine if the fingerprint scanner is defective. So, most likely, it's a software issue, which would indicate the device is not spying on the users, its network behavior is standard. And if that is the case, that is one of the biggest plot twists since Luke, I Am Your Father.
Many have suggested this phone is 100% spying on you. And look, while I love a good conspiracy, I just don't think so. Not because I have some deep faith in Trump Mobile's corporate ethics, but because I don't think anybody over there is competent enough to do something so malicious. Now, if Trump Mobile had gone with some ultra cheap adversarial Chinese ODM that's shoving mystery firmware without their knowledge onto the device, then yeah, maybe it would be a concern. But this is just an HTC phone wearing a novelty campaign hat. That said, as Nancy Reagan's husband once said, trust but verify.
Yeah, that's pretty much all you can do. I totally agree with him on the verdict that the people at Trump Mobile were too incompetent to install firmware for spying. But who knows? Maybe if you select Spanish for language, if that even is an option, you'll find out the hard way. But, as he quotes, trust but verify, so you're better off just running a VPN if you're dead set on using your T1 device in the long run.
So, I guess that brings up the question, where does this leave us? Well, without recommendation? Because while the Trump mobile phone is not a $130 wing tech selling for $500, it's not a particularly great deal. Not because it's way more expensive than the U24 Pro. It's not. It's only a $50 premium, but because, well, the U24 Pro is not a very good phone either. Take this, the Samsung Galaxy S25 FE, for example. This is a $500 phone in the US, and it's not even particularly competent when compared to the likes of Oppo, OnePlus, and others. And yet, this device easily outperforms the Trump phone in all benchmarks. It has significantly better cameras. It has a thinner chassis. It has a fingerprint sensor that works. It has better software, and it will get software updates into the future and more.
There's just not a whole lot to be excited about in regards to the Trump phone. Even if it is better than all the third-party options listed, realistically, it's still a short-term benefit. Quinn really drives this point home when he says, nobody buying this phone is cross-shopping. They like to read a manual on how to make a phone call. Even if the product is complete trash, the people who purchased it aren't going to be around long enough to get upset if they don't receive a software update. Not that I think this phone will ever get an update. I think Eric, Don Jr., and all the other geniuses at Trump Mobile are ready to wash their hands of this catastrophe. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about this now that the Trump phone is finally here. And if you don't want to end up like Trump Mobile, make sure you tip your bartenders and go to church. That's really about it. See ya.